It probably isn't exactly obvious what's going on here, but I do want to point out before we get into anything that this is almost completely stock. Stock flywheels, stock flywheel cage, stock flywheel motors, stock pusher, and the only difference is, of course, the kit control board that I put in here that required no shell cutting and no soldering, well, except for maybe the XT60 connector. And I don't think you really grasp how responsive the trigger is, so I kind of want to point that out really quick, because this is amazing for stock everything in a blaster that you basically don't have to do much to. Yeah. If you like the regulator or you own a regulator, this video is going to make you very, very excited. Correct me if I'm wrong, regulator fanboys, this is your chance, down in the comment section below. But I don't really think anybody uses this blaster. I have rarely seen a mod or anything for the regulator. I barely see people use them stock, and I think that comes down to the fact that while it is cool that it has select fire, and trust me, if there's anybody who loves select fire, it's definitely Walcom, this thing doesn't shoot fast enough to really warrant using that select fire. You could easily just kind of use the full auto function to burst fire, and semi-auto, it's also easy enough. I mean, even like a stock rapid strike and stuff like that, it's pathetically easy to single fire those blasters, which kind of ruins the entire point of using a select fire blaster. And, well, NERF has not revisited this concept in the last 2 years, which is a bit disappointing, because it is a cool blaster. It's got a unique shell, it's got a unique, kind of trigger grouping right here. It's very comfortable. I don't know about the grip being back here, because you kind of have to hold it like this, but it is extremely comfortable in my opinion. I love this grip, and it's got a grip guard, which makes me even happier. But I digress. Nobody uses this thing. And it's also pretty much impossible to mod, and I think that is gonna be the crux of the entire issue with this blaster. Even myself, who has tried to mod the one of these I've ever had, I destroyed it. So even with like, oh, it works with the 2S lipo, nah, it works with some 2S lipos on some regulators without popping the voltage regulator on the board for this thing, which is incredibly disappointing. And it is a conveyor belt, for all intents and purposes. It's pretty much a hyperfire. It's incredibly thin. This thing, like, I really wanted to get 2 of these and make like a deleter V2 out of them, but that just didn't happen. Or might it happen now? Well, we finally have the stuff we need to make this beautiful and awesome and put the regulator back on the map. Years after it's been relevant. You can still pick this up at the time of this video on Amazon for like $40, and they pop up on eBay, and they're not really that hard to get, but they've been long gone off my Walmart store shelves and stuff like that, and I don't think they sold all that well. And to be perfectly honest, we're just kind of waiting for the combination this and Infinus to come out, because, well, that's gonna happen eventually, right? And I really hope what I'm about to review comes out for the Infinus, because holy boy, is that going to make things a lot better. But to get this train wreck rolling, we gotta talk about this, which was sent to me by nfstrike.com. It came in a box, I took it out of the box, and the only other thing in the box was a little sheet that says, hey, you should talk to the person you bought this from so they can send you the instructions, which I have currently on my phone. I'll have them in the description down below. You can download them from like Google Drive or something like that if you happen to buy this kit yourself. And should you buy this kit? Well, it's pretty reasonably freaking priced, and it's a complete electronics replacement for the blaster. And from what I've seen, it's pathetically easy to install. This is a new main control board. It has a new board back here, which would replace this thing right here with a screen with a nubbin that you could use to, it's basically a V6 select fire kit, but for your regulator, and it doesn't change the pusher. This might be important because a lot of people have had issues with the pushers with these select fire kits. For example, the Ultima Strife that I did a video on has an issue with the pusher. It's very temperamental, I can't figure out what the issue is. However, the ghost swordfish thing, ghostfish, whatever I'm gonna call it, that thing works flawlessly, but it's jank as heck to put it in there, and I expect at some point the gearing, it's gonna jam and it's gonna destroy itself. This uses a conveyor belt. It should be really easy, and it still uses an infrared receiver and stuff like that. And I'm going to do this modification as if you at home were probably doing this modification, because it should be relatively easy. In fact, I don't think you actually need to do any cutting or soldering of any type, although you will need something to cut wire and you will need something to strip wire. But you can use this as a drop-in replacement for the original internals, which is flippin' cool. And I'm really excited to get into this. So, let's open up a regulator, shall we? So the weirdest part about this blaster, as I kind of get to it, is that, as you can see, it already has an XT60 connector on it. This was thrifted by my friend Zach, also known as Jacksmay. And somebody had modded it in the past. He did pick this up from a Goodwill. He scratched off how much he paid for it, because I got it from him, and I paid him for it. But, yeah, this thing's been previously modded. So somebody actually got this to work with a 2S LiPo. In fact, I should be able to just take a 2S here. That's pretty incredible, considering I destroyed mine trying to use this exact same LiPo right here. So, if you modded one anywhere in the Pacific Northwest and then donated it to a Goodwill, I have it now. It is mine and you cannot have it back. And this is pretty much in, minus the fact that, of course, we have a LiPo plugged in. So this is our original board right there. We do have to remove this rest of the cage, but man, there's a lot of this blaster you can cut down. Like, seriously, like, this whole blaster could be moved back. It's really only for this nice, big, beautiful battery cage, which would fit, like, pretty much any LiPo in it, which is one of the reasons I'm trying to get this word out there, if this kit works at all, because this is a big battery in it, and if you could get good performance with select fire for a very low price, I would say, this may be one of the better blasters you could start modding. You're not gonna have a whole lot of options with the cage. The cage is a hyperfire cage, so you're gonna have to use something that is basically a hyperfire cage, or figure out how to shove a strife cage in here, which may not be that difficult. We'll have to see in the future, but I'm just gonna do stock cage for the moment, and I'm going to bump this up to a 3S LiPo. This works with 2S LiPo, but this this voltage control is already dead. It looks like they soldered the battery right through the... How did this work? Because the voltage regulator is popped. I can see that plain as day. Huh. Yeah, you can clearly see some custom work going on here. But yeah, that is definitely a blown voltage regulator right there. So, interesting. Well, this could be taken back to the lab to figure out exactly what the person who did this did. They might have just found a way to bypass the voltage regulator completely. But that is really interesting. Well, I wish I was actually recording all the stuff I just did, because my camera turned off and I didn't realize it, but just cut all the wires to your main board, remove every single one connected to this board. Get rid of it. The little switch that goes down there, which is for the select fire mechanism, you're going to be replacing that. And then, of course, this right here is one of the sensors that just kind of friction fits in there and has these two little snaps. Go ahead and remove that as well. So nothing's connected to this. You got a bunch of wires floating around. Don't worry, we're going to be replacing pretty much all of them, so it doesn't really matter. And you're going to remove the thing that goes up here, the original kind of dart sensor to tell you when you're running out of ammo. So you can just, that was in there like that. You just pop that because we're going to be replacing it with a control board and everything. So once you've got all that done, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the part that's labeled RLED, which is this one right here. And we're going to put that in the place where the old LED used to be and channel that wire into the spot it used to be in, just like that. Go ahead and flip that over, and what we're going to do now is we're going to grab this part right here. Going to pop it out and remove it. This is the one with the black LED thing on it, and we're going to replace it with the black LED thing from this board, which came pre-installed in mine, but we're going to take it apart for right now. And that's what's going to count your darts going through the blaster. And that's how it's going to know how many it fired, and thus allow you to do your select fire mechanism. Now we're going to grab our new board here. We're going to kind of fit that in place for the moment. Alright, I lied. To do this, we're going to have to probably clip these things out because it doesn't seem to be fitting perfectly. Those are just guides for the original wires. But we clipped those just a couple of things out. You can break them with your hands probably, and this fits in there perfectly. And now we've got the screen right here, so we can kind of run that up to here. something, I guess it would go like this, huh? Boom. I kind of wish that orange matched a little bit better, but whatever. That's why you paint things. Now we're going to connect the R LED right here, which would connect right there. Gonna connect the receiver LED right here. And then right here on the board, each one of these is individually labeled for what's going to do what, and the instructions will also tell you, but you're going to screw down each one of these contacts with each one of these original wires, so like motor wire and the trigger for that and all that kind of stuff, and that should make it so you don't have to solder anything, and that should just bite into it. In fact, I don't think you need to do any kind of soldering with it or any kind of stripping with this, but we'll just bite it down for right now and see what happens. So go ahead and separate your wires and make sure everything's ready to go. And that's where this little screwdriver that came with the kit is useful for. And it's really just that simple. You're just going to screw in all of those right there, just like that. It clearly labels out which one's in, and then you're gonna plug in those connectors just like that. Of course, mine's gonna look a little bit different because, well, somebody previously modded this thing, but match all the colors up with the diagrams, and it just takes a couple of minutes, honestly. And that just fits right there in the original spot where the board went. Even uses the same screw. I can't find that other one right now. Oh, never mind, I found it. But you get the idea. And then those just connect the way they originally did, and everything should be good to go. So we're just gonna button this thing up and see what it can do. I know it's not stock batteries, but they are in fact stock motors. You can tell. Well, that one's all buttoned up, but trust me, they're stock motors. So before we jump to the conclusions, let's get some chronograph data, shall we? We've got the chronograph right here. I'm gonna fire a shot into it. 96.4. 96.4 again. 91.8. 103. 103 again. 102, 100, 100 again. You get the idea. So again, completely stock everything in this blaster. There's no upgraded flywheel cage, no upgraded pusher, just that kit that you saw me install. And I have to say, I'm blown away by this. This absolutely changes everything kinda I like about flywheels, because I'm a big fan of the select fire, and I'm also a big fan of these conveyor belt mechanisms because I think they're far more efficient than any kind of pusher. Far less mechanical energy is used to rotate a pusher and throw a dart into flywheels than there is for pretty much like a rapid strike pusher or anything like that. And it is extremely responsive, and it works really, really well. This kind of makes the select fire stuff a lot more accessible. I know you still have to buy a kit from like NF Striker. Maybe there's other places that sell it, but the one that I got sent to me from NF Strike will be down in the description below. But that absolutely is a lot easier to work with than the select fire kit for like the Strife and stuff that I've reviewed in the past, which I like those, but this works far better. This little control mechanism on the back has a whole bunch of different settings that I have no idea what they do, and unfortunately I don't see any documentation. So, I mean, there's things that say speed. I can't like quite figure out how to change it from this flashing and stuff like that, but it has built-in ammo counting and everything that you would expect. And it costs like 35 bucks, and it's basically drop in. You cut some wires, pull it out, put the new one in, and just basically screw the wires into the connections on the board, and it's good to go. No shell cutting, nothing. And you get this stock. Now, of course, you will have to probably solder an XT60 connector on there, but you could also buy pre-wired XT60 connectors that you could just screw on as well. So actually, I would say the best thing they could do with this kit is probably sell a JST and an XT60 connector, and probably even a Dean's connector, just all three of them already in the kit, so you can just screw them in and be done. That way people can choose what battery they have and stuff, and it would cost them pennies to really bring this kit to the forefront. And this is before doing any kind of actual flywheel replacements and everything to it. God help you, brushless. There's a lot of room in this blaster, so if you wanted to cut it down, that would be extremely easy to do. But if you also just wanted to keep the lots of space in here for huge batteries and ESCs and all that kind of stuff, that is also an option. The blaster itself is not very thin, although it is really front heavy, and yeah, it's flipping huge, man. It is absolutely massive, and I don't quite know how you would get this to work with like half darts or anything like that. I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing that happens with a blaster that uses a conveyor belt mechanism like this, but regardless, I am blown away. For a lot of you that have wanted to get a select fire blaster and may have been extremely disappointed by the performance of the regulator, this absolutely vindicates this blaster. I cannot recommend this kit enough. The only thing is, yeah, you're probably gonna wanna run your blasters off IMRs or a lipo or a NiCad battery or something like that. You're gonna wanna do some kind of battery upgrade, but this kit is extremely friendly to even the most beginner modder. And it gives you so much even with stock parts. You buy the one thing, you throw it in your stock regulator, and you have a pretty darn good blaster. And it can only get better from here with minor upgrades to like the flywheel cage and stuff like that. Could this thing fall apart when you upgrade the performance on it? Entirely possible. I have no idea because I haven't done it, but I kind of doubt it, the way these systems work. I can't recommend this kit enough. It automatically just shut off on me. To turn it on, all you have to do is rev the blaster again. It's seriously that good. An absolute must buy if you like the regulator and you want to mod it, you want more performance out of it. And in fact, if you want a select fire blaster in general, I would almost say skip the V6 select fire kits and all that stuff, just buy one of these, slam it in there. And my gosh, if you wanted to put brushless in this thing and make it an absolute beast, I'm pretty sure you could do that no problem. Definitely, the regulator is completely on the table again. I am very excited to do some cool stuff to this regulator. This may be my new, like, I don't actually know what category it would fit in. Blaster I like to use at wars, because of course I have like a brushless swordfish, I have an FDL3, I have a Dominator, I have all this crazy cool stuff. But having something like this that is so easy and accessible, and the fact that nobody else uses a regulator for pretty much anything, I have literally never seen one on the field. It pretty much came, people were excited, people fired it, they went, ah, that's pretty cool, and then they completely threw it away and went back to the Strife. Oh man, I angled foregrip and all that cool stuff. I'm totally sold on the regulator, but let me know what you think down in the comment section, because I could be completely wrong about this, and you know, a lot of the time I am, but I'd like to get your feedback, because I'm really excited about this. But other than that, of course, I'm Walcom S7. Thank you so much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta